I was watching my favorite TV show when my son-in-law suddenly shut it off. "Enough of this trash," he snapped. I stayed quiet, but the very next day, I made a decision that would turn his whole world upside down. Welcome back to your ultimate destination for gripping revenge stories, family betrayals, shocking betrayals, and emotional justice. Subscribe now and join a community and tell us where you're watching from. Turn on the notification bell for our next story. Are you ready to witness the ultimate payback? Let's get started. It was one of those ordinary Tuesday evenings in our single-story ranch house on Elmwood Drive in Aurora, Illinois, a quiet suburb just west of Chicago, when the world I had spent nearly 7 decades carefully constructing tilted on its axis. The living room smelled faintly of the pot roast I'd slow-cooked earlier, the same recipe Ruth used to make every Sunday. I was settled deep in my old leather recliner, the one with the permanent dent from years of holding grandkids during Saturday cartoons, watching my favorite rerun of Gunsmoke on the MeTV channel. The volume was low, just enough to hear Marshall Dillon's gravelly voice over the hum of the ceiling fan. The kids were already asleep in the back bedrooms. Angela and Christopher had gone out for a quick dinner to discuss her new job orientation. Then the front door opened without a knock. Christopher, my son-in-law, 39, always in crisp button-downs and slim-fit chinos, strode straight through the foyer, eyes locked on the television like it was an intruder. Without a word, he crossed the room, snatched the remote from the arm of my chair, and pressed the power button. The screen went black mid-scene. The sudden silence rang in my ears louder than any saloon shootout. "Enough of this trash," he said, tone clipped and final. "In this house we don't watch stupid things like that." I blinked up at him, the words not quite registering at first. Behind him in the doorway stood Angela, my only daughter, 36, the same girl who used to beg me to stay up late so we could watch Bonanza together after her homework was done. She was still wearing her work scrubs from the hospital shift, arms folded across her chest, nodding slowly in agreement. No flicker of discomfort. No quick, "Dad," he didn't mean it that way. Just quiet, deliberate endorsement of the man she had married 8 years earlier. My mouth opened, then closed. The recliner suddenly felt too big, too empty. "Angela?" My voice came out softer than I intended. She met my eyes for half a second, then looked at the darkened screen. "Dad, Christopher's right. We've been talking about this. You spend too much time in front of that thing. It's not good for you, for any of us. We're trying to make the house healthier. For the kids especially." Christopher set the remote back on the side table with deliberate care, like he was returning a borrowed item. "We're moving in permanently next month anyway," he added. "Might as well start setting some boundaries now. Ground rules. You understand." They had announced the relocation 3 weeks earlier. Angela's promotion to nurse manager at Northwestern Medicine required her to relocate back to the Chicago area. Christopher's consulting firm had approved full remote work. Rent in Denver had skyrocketed, and they wanted the kids, Ellie, 6, and Mason, 3, to grow up near family. Near me. I had opened my arms and my home without hesitation. The spare bedrooms had been repainted pale lavender and sage green. I'd bought bunk beds with built-in desks, stocked the pantry with their favorite snacks, organic apple slices, almond butter, the gluten-free crackers Christopher insisted on. I'd even installed a baby gate at the top of the basement stairs and child-proofed the outlets again, just like when Angela was little. I had pictured cozy evenings, helping Ellie with kindergarten homework, reading Mason his dinosaur books, maybe even watching a family movie together once in a while. I pictured Angela hugging me goodnight the way she used to when she came home from college breaks. I pictured being useful again, not just the grandpa who sent birthday checks and FaceTime from 1,200 miles away, but the father and grandfather who was part of daily life. That Tuesday night, as Christopher turned and walked toward the kitchen to pour himself a glass of water from the filtered pitcher he had installed the week before, and as Angela gave me one last look, part apology, part resolve, before following him, I felt the first real fracture that I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I simply stood, knees creaking after too many years on concrete warehouse floors before I switched to accounting, picked up my empty coffee mug, and walked down the hallway to the master bedroom. Closed the door. Locked it for the first time since Ruth passed in 1998. That I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark, staring at the wedding photo on the dresser. Ruth and me on the steps of the old courthouse in Joliet, 1978. Her veil catching the wind, my arm around her waist like I would never let go. Angela, 2 years old then, hadn't even been a thought yet. But she came soon after, and when Ruth's car spun out on black ice on I-88 that December night, Angela became my entire reason to keep breathing that I raised her alone. Double shifts at the firm, PTA meetings, dance recitals, college applications. When she graduated nursing school, I cried harder than she did. When she married Christopher in a vineyard outside Boulder, I paid for the entire reception and walked her down the aisle, trying not to let my voice crack during the father-daughter dance. When Ellie was born, I drove straight through the night from Aurora to Denver just to hold her. When Mason followed, I did it again. And now, in the house I still owned outright, mortgage burned in 2012, I was being told what I could and could not watch on the television I bought with overtime pay in 2003 that I didn't sleep much. The clock on the nightstand glowed 3:17, then 4:02, then 5:41. By the time the first gray light slipped through the blinds, the decision had hardened inside me like cooling steel. The next day, Wednesday, I changed everything about me to AT 6:45 a.m. While Angela was in the shower and Christopher was still asleep in the guest room. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and my phone. First call, my longtime financial advisor, Raj Patel, who had handled my accounts since the early 2000s. ZAHA, he answered on the second ring. Everything okay? Not really, I said. I need to lock down some accounts. Angela still has access to the old joint one I set up for emergencies. I want it frozen. Transfers stopped. Everything moved to new accounts in my name only. A brief pause. Understood. I'll handle it this morning. You want me to flag any outgoing drafts? Yes. And no more automatic deposits to her savings. That stops today. Next call. My attorney, Mrs. Elena Ramirez, a no-nonsense woman in her late 50s who had helped me with Ruth's estate and Angela's adoption paperwork years ago. ZAHA, it's been a while, she said warmly. What's going on? I told her everything. The TV incident, the nodding agreement, the ground rules, the impending permanent move-in. I told her the house deed was still solely in my name. I told her I had supported them financially for 8 years. Down payments, student loans, car repairs, Christmas bonuses when Christopher's contracts were slow. She listened without interruption. When I finished, she said, "You're not obligated to provide free housing to adult children indefinitely, ZAHA. Especially not if they're disrespectful in your own home. We can start with a formal notice to vacate. 30 days is standard in Illinois for month-to-month family arrangements. If they refuse, we file for eviction. But let's try talking first. Sometimes people back down when they realize the free ride is over. I want them out," I said. "But I want my grandkids to still have me in their lives. I don't want to burn that bridge completely. We can protect your relationship with Ellie and Mason," she assured me. "Grandparent visitation rights are strong in Illinois if it comes to that. But let's not go nuclear yet." By 9:30 a.m. the joint account was frozen. Raj texted confirmation. Done. New account set up. You're secure. At 10 a.m. I drove to the bank branch on Galena Boulevard, signed new signature cards, got fresh debit cards. Then I stopped at the hardware store and bought new deadbolt locks for the front and back doors, something I hadn't done since the neighborhood had a rash of porch piracy in 2019. When I returned home, Angela was in the kitchen making oatmeal for the kids. Christopher was at the dining table on his laptop, typing furiously. Ellie ran to me the moment I walked in. "Grandpa." Hug. I scooped her up, still light enough at 6 to lift easily, and kissed her forehead. Mason toddled over, arms out. I set Ellie down and picked him up too. Held them both for a long moment while Angela watched. "We need to talk," I said, setting the kids down gently. Living room. Now. Christopher closed his laptop with a deliberate snap. Angela wiped her hands on a dish towel. They followed me. I sat in my recliner. They sat on the couch. Together, a united front. I spoke slowly, clearly. "This house is mine. Deed in my name. Mortgage paid off 10 years ago. I welcomed you here because I love my daughter and my grandkids. But last night crossed a line. You don't get to walk into my living room, turn off my television, call what I enjoy trash, and tell me what I can do in my own home. Not you. Not anyone." Christopher opened his mouth. I raised a hand. "I'm not finished. You have 30 days to find your own place. I'll help with first month's rent and security deposit if needed. But the disrespect ends today. If you want to stay longer, we set real boundaries, my house, my rules. No more rearranging my kitchen, no more comments about my habits, no more turning off my shows. Respect or leave. Angela's eyes filled. Dad, we're family. Family doesn't humiliate family in their own home, I said. You nodded along last night like I was the child. That stops. Christopher's jaw tightened. You're seriously kicking us out? After we moved halfway across the country to be closer to you and the kids. You moved for Angela's job and cheaper living, I corrected. You moved into my house because it was free. I'm ending the free part. Angela started crying quietly. Christopher stood. This is unbelievable, he said. We'll pack what we need tonight. We can stay with my parents in Naperville until we find something. He walked out. Angela lingered a moment, tears streaming. I never meant to hurt you, Dad, she whispered. You already did, I said. Now you have to live with it. She left the room. I sat there alone, heart hammering. But underneath the pain was something else, something steady, something reclaiming. The next 30 days would be hard, but karma had finally been invited to the table, and I was ready to serve. Have you ever had to set a firm boundary with your own child or in-law? How did it feel the morning after? I read every comment. Your stories keep me going. The rest of Wednesday unfolded like a slow-motion car crash I couldn't look away from. After the living room confrontation, Christopher and Angela retreated to the guest suite. The master bedroom Ruth and I had shared until 1998, the one I'd moved out of after her funeral so Angela could have her own space during college visits. I heard drawers opening and closing, muffled voices rising and falling, the occasional sharp word from Christopher. Ellie and Mason sensed the tension immediately. They stayed close to me in the kitchen, coloring pictures at the table while I made grilled cheese sandwiches for lunch. Ellie looked up with her big hazel eyes, Angela's eyes. Why is Daddy mad at Grandpa? I knelt beside her chair, smoothed her ponytail. Grown-ups sometimes disagree. But Grandpa loves you and Mason more than anything. That never changes. Mason just hugged my leg, silent and serious. Angela emerged around 2 p.m., eyes red, face blotchy. She tried to act normal for the kids, kissed their heads, asked about their drawings. But when she looked at me, the air between us crackled. Dad, she said quietly while Christopher was in the garage loading boxes into his SUV. Can we talk? Just us. I nodded toward the back patio. We stepped outside. The late October sun was weak, the maple leaves already turning gold and red. Ruth's garden bench still sat under the tree, faded green paint peeling. Angela sat. I remained standing. I'm sorry about last night, she started. Christopher was out of line. I should have said something right then. I didn't want to start a fight in front of the kids. You agreed with him, I said. You nodded. You stood behind him like I was the problem. She looked down at her hands. I know. I've been trying to support him. He's stressed about the move, the new job setup, money. But that's no excuse. I should have defended you. I'm sorry. I waited. She continued, voice cracking. We can't afford an apartment right now. Not with the security deposit, first and last, moving costs. My new position doesn't start paying until December. Christopher's clients are slow this quarter. We were counting on staying here until spring. Please, Dad. 30 days is too short. Give us until after the holidays. I felt the old reflex kick in, the one that had always said yes to Angela. The one that paid for her wedding, her grad school loans, the down payment on their first condo in Denver. The one that drove through blizzards to see the grandkids at Christmas. But something had shifted permanently the night before. The remote clicking off. The word trash. The nod from my own daughter. No, I said. 30 days. You can stay until the end of November if you follow the rules. No more comments. No more rearranging. No more turning off my TV. But after that, you find your own place. I'll give you $3,000 toward moving costs. That's all. Her face crumpled. Dad, that's not even enough for 1 month in Aurora right now. Rents are insane. Then you'll have to figure it out. You're adults. She stood, tears falling freely now. I never thought you'd do this to us. To your grandkids. The guilt stabbed hard. Exactly where she knew it would hurt most. But I held firm. I'm doing this because of my grandkids, I said. I want them to grow up seeing respect, not entitlement, not walking into someone's home and treating them like a guest in their own life. She wiped her face with her sleeve. You're punishing me for marrying Christopher. No, I said. I'm protecting myself from being erased in my own house. She walked back inside without another word. That afternoon, I called Raj again. Any unusual activity on the old joint account before I froze it? I asked at a pause while he pulled records. 2 transfers yesterday morning, $800 to Venmo, labeled groceries, and $1,200 to their checking. Both cleared before the freeze hit. I closed my eyes. Anything else? Recurring auto pay to Christopher's business PayPal, $500 a month for consulting software. Been running for 14 months. I hadn't known about that one. Cancel it, I said. All recurring payments stopped today. Done. By evening, Christopher had loaded half their belongings into the SUV and his brother's borrowed pickup. They weren't leaving yet, just preparing. The atmosphere in the house was thick, silent except for the kids' confused questions. Dinner was tense. I cooked spaghetti, Ellie's favorite. Angela tried to keep conversation light. School, the new playground at the park. Christopher ate in silence, jaw tight. When Ellie asked why Daddy was packing toys, he answered curtly, "Because we might need them soon." After the kids were in bed, Christopher cornered me in the hallway. "You think you're teaching us a lesson?" he said low. "You're just hurting your daughter. And those kids." "I'm teaching respect," I replied. "Something you clearly never learned." His eyes narrowed. "Angela told me you've been sending us money for years. Helping with bills. You never complained then." "I helped because I loved her. Because I wanted my grandkids safe and happy. I didn't do it so you could walk in here and act like you own the place." He stepped closer. "You're old. Alone. You need us more than we need you." The words landed like a slap that I met his gaze steadily. "I've been alone since 1998. I raised a daughter, buried a wife, paid off a house, built a life. I don't need anyone who treats me like a burden." He laughed, short, bitter. "You'll regret this when you're sitting here by yourself at Christmas." "Maybe," I said, "but I'd rather be alone than disrespected." He turned and walked away. That night, I lay awake listening to them pack in the next room. Suitcases zipping, boxes taped, Angela crying softly. Part of me wanted to go in there, hug her, say we could work it out. The father reflex was strong, but the other part, the part that had finally woken up, remembered the remote. The nod. The word trash. Thursday morning, Angela took the kids to preschool. Christopher left for a client call at a coffee shop. The house was empty and I called Mrs. Ramirez. "Send the formal notice," I said. 30-day notice to vacate. Certified mail and email. Today. She didn't argue. "I'll have it drafted and sent by noon." "You sure?" "I'm sure." By 1 p.m. the notice was in their inboxes and on its way via certified mail. Legal, clear, Illinois compliant. Vacate by November 30th or face eviction proceedings. When Angela returned with the kids, she saw the email first. Her face went white. "Dad, you actually did it. I told you 30 days. She started crying again, harder this time. "You're really throwing us out. After everything. I'm asking you to leave my home," I corrected. "You're welcome to visit any time. With the kids, with respect. But you don't live here anymore." Christopher arrived home 20 minutes later. "Read the email." His face darkened. "You're bluffing," he said. "I'm not." He stormed out to the garage. Angela followed. I heard raised voices, his sharp, hers pleading. Then silence. That evening they sat me down in the living room. Formal, like a negotiation, Angela spoke first. "We found an apartment in Naperville. 2-bedroom, $2,400 a month. We can move December 1st. But we need help with the deposit. $4,800. Please, Dad." I looked at her, really looked. The little girl who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during westerns. The woman who now stood beside a man who had belittled me in my own home. "No," I said. "The $3,000 moving assistance stands. You'll have to cover the rest." Christopher exploded. "You're unbelievable. You sit on a paid-off house worth $500,000, and you won't help your own daughter?" "The house is mine," I said calmly. "I earned it. I paid for it. I maintained it. You don't get to guilt me into paying your way." Angela's voice broke. "I thought you loved us." "I do love you," I said. "That's why I'm doing this. So you learn to stand on your own. So my grandkids see what self-respect looks like." Christopher stood. "We're done here. We'll be out by the 30th. And don't expect us to come crawling back when you're lonely." He walked out. Angela lingered. "I never wanted this, Dad." "I know," I said. "But you chose it when you stood behind him and nodded." She left the room crying. The next 2 weeks were a cold war. They packed methodically. Spoke only when necessary. The kids asked questions. We gave vague answers about mommy and daddy finding a new house with a bigger playground. I took Ellie and Mason to the park every afternoon, swings, slides, ice cream from the truck that parked near the pond. I told them stories about Ruth, about when Angela was small. I made sure they knew Grandpa's door was always open for them. One evening, Ellie crawled into my lap while I read her a book. "Will you still read to me when we move?" she asked. "Every time you visit." I promised. "And we'll FaceTime. And I'll come see your new room." She hugged me tight. "I love you, Grandpa. I love you more." Christopher's behavior worsened. He accidentally left coffee rings on my antique end table. Forgot a coaster. He played loud music in the guest room late at night. When I asked him to turn it down for the kids' bedtime, he smirked. "It's my house too while we're here." I didn't engage. Instead, I changed the Wi-Fi password. Told him if he wanted access, he could ask politely. He didn't. I stopped cooking family meals. Made enough for me and the kids. They fended for themselves. Angela tried once more. Late one night after Christopher was asleep, she knocked on my bedroom door. I let her in. "Dad," she whispered, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I'm scared. We're going to be stretched so thin. Christopher's angry all the time. I don't know if our marriage can take this." I looked at her in the dim light from the hallway. "You made choices. Live with them. I know I hurt you," she said. "I should have stood up for you. I was wrong. Please, give us more time." I thought about it, really thought. The old reflex rose again, but I remembered Ruth's voice in my head, the one that used to say, "Don't let anyone walk over you, ZAHA. Not even family." "No," I said gently, "but I'll keep my promise, $3,000. And I'll babysit anytime you need. For the kids." She cried into her hands. "I love you, Dad. I'm so sorry." "I love you too," I said. "But love doesn't mean no boundaries." She left out on November 29th, the day before the deadline. Christopher loaded the last boxes. Angela buckled the kids into car seats. Ellie waved through the window, confused but waving. Angela walked back to the porch where I stood. She hugged me, tight, trembling. "I'll call when we're settled," she said. "I'll be here." She got in the car. They drove away. I stood on the porch until the taillights disappeared around the corner. Then I went inside, closed the door, locked it. The house was quiet, truly quiet. For the first time in months, I walked to the living room, picked up the remote, turned on Gunsmoke. Marshall Dillon rode into Dodge City. I sat in my recliner, smiled for the first time in weeks. Karma had arrived, and it felt like justice. But deep down, I knew the story wasn't over. Forgiveness was still waiting somewhere down the road. The catalyst delivers the full emotional gut punch. Escalating confrontations, financial retaliation, legal notice, family tension, grandkids caught in the middle, Christopher's arrogance peaking, Angela's remorse emerging, and ZAHA's unyielding stand for dignity. Stakes skyrocket as the family is forced out, setting up revenge's consequences and the slow path toward reconciliation. If this escalation left your heart racing, comment below. Would you have given them more time, or held the line like ZAHA? Share your thoughts. I read everyone. December arrived in Aurora like a cold slap. Gray skies, bare trees, the kind of wind that cuts through coats and makes you hurry indoors. The house on Elmwood Drive felt cavernous without Ellie's laughter bouncing off the walls or Mason's small feet pattering down the hallway. I kept the thermostat at 68 degrees, same as always, but the quiet made every creak of the floorboards louder, every tick of the grandfather clock Ruth bought in 1992 more noticeable that I didn't regret asking them to leave. Not once. But the absence carved a hollow space in my chest that no amount of Gunsmoke reruns could fill. The first week after they moved out, Angela texted every day, December 2nd. "We're in the new apartment. Kids miss you already. Ellie asked for your bedtime stories tonight." December 3rd. Christopher found a short-term contract. "Money will be tight until January. Thank you for the $3,000. It helped with the deposit." December 4th. Mason won't sleep without his grandpa blanket. The one you gave him for his 3rd birthday. He keeps asking when you're coming over. I read each message. Felt the familiar tug. Answered only the practical ones. The blanket question. Tell him grandpa loves him. I'll mail another one if he needs it. No invitations. No offers to babysit yet. Boundaries first. Christopher didn't text at all. Angela mentioned in passing that he was still upset and working long hours to make up for lost time. I didn't ask for details. Raj called mid-month with an update. ZAHA, the recurring PayPal to Christopher's business? Cancelled. But there was one last draft that slipped through before the freeze. $500 on November 28th. Labeled software renewal. I exhaled slowly. Anything else? Angela tried to transfer $400 from the old joint account 2 days after the freeze. It bounced. Bank flagged it. She called them. They told her access was revoked. I pictured her standing in the new apartment kitchen, probably still half-unpacked boxes, staring at a declined transaction alert. The old reflex rose again. Send her the money. Smooth it over. I crushed it. Let it stay revoked, I said. No exceptions. Raj paused. You're sure? She's your daughter. She's an adult, I replied. Time she acted like one. The holidays crept closer. Thanksgiving had passed in silence. They spent it with Christopher's parents in Naperville. I ate turkey breast alone, watched the Macy's parade on TV, called Ellie and Mason on FaceTime. They waved excitedly from a couch I didn't recognize. Grandpa? We miss your house. Ellie shouted. I miss you too, sweetheart. Did you eat lots of pie? 2 pieces. Mason held up 3 fingers. Angelo appeared in the background, smiling tightly. They're doing great. We're okay. I nodded. Good. No invitation to join them. No offer for me to host. Christmas shopping felt strange. I bought Ellie a dollhouse she'd pointed out at Target last summer. Mason a set of wooden trains. Wrapped them carefully, drove to their new apartment complex on the edge of Naperville on December 23rd. Angela met me in the lobby, neutral ground, no stepping inside. She looked tired. Dark circles. Hair pulled back in a hasty ponytail. Thank you, she said, taking the gifts. They'll be so excited. I nodded. Tell them Grandpa loves them. She hesitated. Dad, can we talk? Just for a minute. We sat on a bench in the lobby. Fake poinsettias decorated the corners. Holiday music played softly from hidden speakers. Christopher lost the short-term contract, she said quietly. Client pulled funding. We're behind on rent already. I'm picking up extra shifts at the hospital, but it's not enough. We might have to move again, maybe back to Denver with his brother. I listened, felt the ache. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. She looked at me, pleading now. Dad, I know I messed up. I should have stood up for you that night. I was scared of losing Christopher, scared of rocking the boat. But I lost you instead. And the kids, they ask about you every day. Tears welled. I stayed silent. Please, she whispered. Help us. Just this once. Alone. Or, let us come back until we're stable. We'll follow every rule. No more comments. No more anything. I promise. The words hung between us. I thought of Ruth. Thought of the nights I sat alone after her funeral, promising myself I'd never let anyone make me feel small again. Thought of the remote. The nod. The word trash. No, I said gently. Not yet. Her face crumpled. Dad. You need to stand on your own, I told her. You and Christopher. Figure it out together. When you do, when you both show me you understand respect, I'll be here. For the kids. For you. But not like before. She nodded slowly, wiping her eyes. I understand. I stood. Merry Christmas, Angela. Merry Christmas, Dad. I walked out into the cold. Didn't look back. The new year, 2026, brought more changes than I in January. Mrs. Ramirez called with paperwork. Angela had filed for a temporary financial assistance order through family court, claiming hardship and long-term parental support history. They were asking for $2,000 monthly until Christopher found steady work. I met Mrs. Ramirez in her office. She slid the petition across the desk. They're arguing you've established a pattern of support, she explained. That suddenly cutting it off constitutes abandonment of family obligation. I read the document. Angela's signature at the bottom, shaky but there. What are our chances? I asked. Strong, she said. You're not obligated to support adult children. The house was never gifted or promised as inheritance. Financial help was voluntary. Courts rarely force continued support in cases like this, especially with documented disrespect. I signed the response. Denial of the petition, counter-statement detailing the TV incident, the notice to vacate, the lack of apology from Christopher. Mrs. Ramirez added an affidavit from me. I remain committed to my grandchildren. I will provide reasonable support for their needs if requested through proper channels. I will not resume cohabitation or unrestricted financial aid to my daughter and son-in-law absent demonstrated change in behavior. Filed February 10. Angela called the next day. First time since Christmas. Dad, you're fighting us in court? I'm protecting what's mine, I said. You forced my hand. She cried. We're drowning. Christopher's depressed. Barely leaves the couch. The kids see it. Ellie asked if we're getting a divorce. The guilt hit hard, but I held the line. You can fix this, I told her. Not by court. By changing. By teaching your husband respect. By showing me you value me as your father, not as an ATM. Silence. I love you, Angela. But love has limits. She hung up. March brought the first court hearing, brief, procedural. The judge, a woman in her 60s, reviewed the filings, listened to brief arguments. Mrs. Ramirez spoke clearly. Mr. Okoye has provided generous support for 8 years. He withdrew it after documented disrespect in his own home. He is under no legal obligation to continue subsidizing adult children who are capable of working. Angela's attorney, a young public interest lawyer, argued hardship. The grandchildren will suffer if the family becomes homeless. Mr. Okoye has the means and a history of support. The judge looked at me over her glasses. Mr. Okoye, do you intend to cut off all contact with your grandchildren? No, Your Honor, I said. I see them regularly. I provide for their direct needs, clothes, school supplies, gifts. I just won't fund the household indefinitely. She nodded. Petition denied without prejudice. Parties are encouraged to mediate privately. Next status in 60 days. We left the courthouse. Angela waited in the hallway. She looked thinner. Exhausted. Dad, please. I stopped. I meant what I said. Change. Then we talk. She nodded. Tears fell. Christopher wasn't there. Angela said he couldn't face it. Karma was working quietly now. In April, Raj called again. ZAHA. Interesting development. Christopher's business PayPal account was frozen last month. Multiple chargebacks from clients. Looks like he overpromised deliverables. They're pursuing small claims against him. I didn't smile. But I didn't feel sorry either. Angela started texting updates, small ones. April 15th. I got a second job, weekend home health shifts. It helps. April 22nd. Christopher started therapy. Anger management. He's trying. April 30th. Ellie made you a Mother's Day card. Well, Grandparents' Day. She wants to give it to you herself. I replied to the last one. Bring her to the park Saturday. 11 a.m. DuPage River Walk. Just you and the kids. She agreed. Saturday was bright. First real warm day. I arrived early, sat on a bench near the playground. Ellie spotted me first. Ran full speed into my arms. Grandpa. Mason toddled behind, grinning. Angela walked up slowly. No, Christopher. She sat on the far end of the bench while the kids played. They miss you so much, she said. I miss them. We watched in silence for a while. Christopher's making progress, she said. He apologized to me last week for how he treated you. Said he was scared of failing as a provider. Took it out on you. I nodded. I apologized to him too, she continued. For not standing up for my dad. For letting him think it was okay. Another pause. I'm sorry, Dad. Truly. Not just words. I see now what I did. I chose my husband over my father. I won't do that again. I looked at her. Saw the girl who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during westerns. Saw the woman who had grown, hurt me, and was now trying to grow back. I hear you, I said. She swallowed. Can we start small? Coffee sometimes. The kids visiting more. I thought about it. Let's start with the kids, I said. Every other Saturday. Here. Or the old house. Wait, no? My condo now. I moved to a smaller place downtown last month. Easier to maintain. She looked surprised. You sold the house. Closed in February. Too many memories. Too big for one person. She nodded slowly. Okay. Kids first. Ellie ran over, holding a dandelion bouquet. For you, Grandpa. I took them. Kissed her forehead. Angela watched. Tears shining but not falling. As the kids played, something loosened in my chest. Not forgiveness yet, but the beginning of possibility. Karma had taken its measure. Now Grace was whispering. Rising tension through legal battles, financial struggles, Angela's growing remorse, Christopher's setbacks, grandkids as the emotional bridge, and ZAHA's firm but softening stance. Stakes deepen as family fractures show signs of mending. Karma bites harder, and forgiveness begins to emerge as a distant but real option. If this part pulled at your heart, comment below. Have you ever seen someone you love hit rock bottom and start to climb back? How did it change your relationship? I read every comment. Your stories matter. June 2026 arrived in Aurora with the kind of humid heat that makes the air feel thick and slows everything down. The river walk along the DuPage was crowded on weekends. Families picnicking, joggers weaving past strollers, kids chasing ducks. I had been meeting Ellie and Mason there every other Saturday for 4 months now. Same bench near the playground. Same routine. I brought juice boxes and goldfish crackers. Angela brought the kids and a tentative smile. No Christopher. He never came. Angela said he was working through things in therapy and wasn't ready to face me yet that I didn't push. The kids had grown taller. Ellie lost her first front tooth in April. Mason had started preschool and could now count to 20 without help. They ran to me every time, arms wide, shouting "Grandpa," like I was the best surprise of the day. We played on the swings, fed the ducks breadcrumbs from a bag I kept in my car, built sandcastles in the small play area. Angela sat on the bench, watching, sometimes joining in when Ellie begged her to push the swing higher. We didn't talk much, small things, school projects, doctor appointments, how Mason still carried his grandpa blanket everywhere, but the silences were changing. Less heavy, less guarded. On the second Saturday in June, Angela arrived looking different. Hair down instead of in a ponytail. A little makeup. Eyes clearer than they'd been in months. The kids ran ahead to the playground. She sat beside me, closer than usual, but still leaving space. "Dad," she said quietly, "I need to tell you something." I kept my eyes on Ellie climbing the slide. "I'm listening." Christopher and I were separating. The words landed softly, like leaves falling in summer. No shock. I had seen the strain in her face for months. The way she flinched when his name came up. The way she always arrived alone. When? I asked. Last month. He moved out. Staying with his brother in Naperville again. We're doing mediation for custody. Joint, but I'll have primary during the week. I nodded slowly. "How are you holding up?" She let out a long breath. Terrified. Relieved. Guilty. All at once. The apartment lease is up in August. I found a smaller one-bedroom in Aurora, closer to the hospital, cheaper. The kids will have to share a room, but it's doable on my salary now that I'm full-time plus overtime. She paused. He admitted a lot in therapy, she continued. That he felt emasculated when we moved in with you. That he resented depending on you. That he took it out on you because it was easier than admitting he wasn't providing enough. He said he was wrong. That he owes you an apology, but he's not ready to give it yet. I watched Mason dig in the sand with a plastic shovel. "And you?" "I owe you more than an apology," she said. "I owe you years. I chose him over you that night. I chose peace in my marriage over loyalty to my father. I let him disrespect you because confronting him meant risking everything. And I lost you anyway." Tears slipped down her cheeks. She didn't wipe them. "I'm not asking for forgiveness today," she whispered. "I know it takes time, but I want you to know I see it now. All of it. And I'm trying to be better, for the kids, for myself, for the chance that someday you'll let me back in." Ellie ran over, holding a dandelion chain she'd made. "Look, Grandpa. For you and Mommy." She draped it around my neck, then Angela's. We both smiled. Real smiles, small but true. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said, kissing her cheek. When Ellie ran back, Angela spoke again. "The court mediator suggested family counseling. Not for Christopher, he's not part of it yet, but for me and the kids. And they said if you're willing, you could join. Just to help the kids process everything. No pressure on us." I looked at her. "I'll think about it," I said. She nodded. "That's all I ask." The rest of the visit passed quietly. We walked along the river path. The kids threw pebbles, watching ripples spread. When it was time to go, Ellie hugged me extra long. "Don't forget us, Grandpa." "Never," I promised. Angela lingered after buckling them into the car. "Thank you for today," she said. "For still showing up." "You're their mother," I replied. "And my daughter. That doesn't vanish." She drove away. I sat on the bench until the sun dipped lower, turning the water gold. That night, I called Mrs. Ramirez. "Angela's separated from Christopher," I told her. "She's asking about family counseling. For the kids mostly. Possibly me." Mrs. Ramirez was quiet a moment. "That's a good sign. Courts look favorably on parents and grandparents who cooperate for the children's sake. If you join, It strengthens your position if custody ever becomes contested. But more importantly, it's a step toward healing. I exhaled. I'm not ready to forgive everything. Not yet. You don't have to forgive to show up, she said. You just have to be present. I thought about that all night. The next Saturday, June 25th, Angela arrived at the park alone with the kids again. But this time she carried a small envelope. After the children ran to the swings, she handed it to me. It's from Christopher, she said. He asked me to give it to you. Said he couldn't face you yet, but he needed to say it. I took the envelope. Plain white. My name in his neat handwriting. I opened it. Dear Mr. Okoye, I don't expect you to believe me, and I don't expect forgiveness. But I owe you the truth that I was wrong. From the first day we moved in, I felt like a failure. My business was struggling. Angela's salary carried us. Moving into your house felt like admitting I couldn't provide. Instead of owning that, I tried to control everything. Your TV, your kitchen, your routines. I called your shows trash because it made me feel superior for 5 seconds. I was a coward that I hurt you. I hurt Angela by putting her in the middle. I hurt Ellie and Mason by making their home unstable. I'm in therapy twice a week now. Anger management and individual counseling. I'm learning why I lash out when I feel small. I'm learning to apologize without excuses. That I don't ask you to let me back in your life. I just want you to know I see what I did. And I'm sorry if you ever allow it. I'd like to say it in person someday. Respectfully. Christopher. I folded the letter. Put it in my pocket. Angela watched my face. He means it, she said. He cried when he wrote it. I nodded once. The kids called us over for a game of tag. We played. Me slow and careful with my knees. Angela laughing when Mason tackled her legs. For an hour the world felt simple again. When the visit ended, Angela buckled the kids in. Before she closed the door, she turned to me. Dad, the counselor suggested a family session next month. Just me, you, and the kids. No Christopher unless everyone agrees. Would you come? Even once. I looked at Ellie waving from the back seat. Mason blowing kisses. I'll come, I said. For them. Her eyes filled. Thank you. She drove away. The first family counseling session was July 15th, in a small office in downtown Aurora. Soft beige walls, toys in one corner, a low table with crayons. The counselor, Dr. Nguyen, was a calm woman in her 50s with kind eyes. That we sat in a circle. Me, Angela, Ellie, Mason. No pressure to talk about hard things right away. Dr. Nguyen started with feelings check-ins using colored cards. Ellie picked yellow. Happy because Grandpa's here. Mason picked green. Love Grandpa. Angela picked blue. Sad and hopeful. I picked gray. Cautious. Dr. Nguyen nodded. That's honest. We start there. Over the next hour we talked about missing each other. About the move. About new routines. Ellie asked why Mommy and Daddy weren't living together. Angela answered simply. Grown-ups sometimes need different houses to be happy. But we both love you the same. Mason asked if he could still sleep at Grandpa's sometimes. That I looked at Angela. She nodded. Yes, I said. Anytime you want. The session ended with a promise. Next week, same time. Outside, Angela walked me to my car while the kids played with bubbles Dr. Nguyen gave them. Thank you, she said again. I know this isn't easy. It's not, I agreed. But it's necessary. She hesitated. Christopher wants to attend next month, if you're okay with it. Just one session. To apologize in person. I thought about the letter. About the grandkids. About the hollow space that still lived in my chest, but was smaller now. Tell him yes, I said. One session. No promises after that. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for months. The next 4 weeks passed in a rhythm of counseling, park visits, and slow, careful steps. Christopher attended the August session. He arrived early, suit jacket, no tie, hair shorter than I remembered. He sat across from me, hands clasped tight. Dr. Nguyen started neutrally. Christopher, you asked for this time. The floor is yours. He looked at me directly. Mr. Okay. ZAHA, he corrected himself. I'm sorry. For walking into your home and acting like I owned it. For turning off your television and calling what you love trash. For making you feel small in the place you built with your own hands. For putting Angela in an impossible position. For not appreciating everything you did for us, for the kids, for her, for me even when I didn't deserve it. His voice cracked once. He steadied it. I was ashamed. Of my failures. Of needing help. I turned that shame into anger. I hurt you because it was easier than looking at myself. I'm working on that now. Every day. I don't expect you to trust me. I don't expect anything. I just needed to say it. I was wrong. And I'm sorry. The room was quiet. Ellie crawled into my lap. Mason leaned against Angela. I looked at Christopher. Saw a man trying. Not perfectly, but trying. I hear you, I said finally. I'm not ready to forget, but I'm willing to see what happens next. For the kids. He nodded. Tears in his eyes. Thank you. Dr. Nguyen guided us through the rest, small agreements. Monthly visits with Christopher present only if I approved, continued counseling, open communication about the children. When the session ended, Christopher stood. I won't take more of your time, he said. But if you ever want to talk, just us, I'm available. I stood too. Extended my hand and he shook it. Firm, grateful. After he left, Angela hugged me. First time in over a year. I'm proud of you, she whispered. And I love you. I love you too, I said. The words came easier than I expected. We walked out together. Me holding Ellie's hand, Angela carrying Mason. The summer sun was setting over the parking lot, turning everything warm and gold. Forgiveness isn't a single moment. It's a series of choices. That day, I chose to keep choosing. And for the first time since that Tuesday night when the TV went dark, I felt the weight begin to lift, not gone, but lighter. Redemption wasn't reunion. It was this. A grandfather, a daughter, 2 small children, and a man who had hurt them all. Walking out of a counselor's office together. One careful step at a time. The emotional climax arrives. Christopher's in-person apology, the first joint family session, ZAHA's deliberate choice to allow limited reconciliation, Angela's full accountability, and the peak of forgiveness as a conscious act rather than erasure. Stakes resolve in a moment of raw vulnerability, with the universal theme of redemption shining through presence, apology, and gradual trust. If this turning point moved you, comment below. Have you ever witnessed or given a genuine apology that changed everything? What made it real? I read every comment. Your stories remind me why these journeys matter. The fall of 2026 came gently to Aurora, leaves turning amber and crimson along the DuPage River, the air carrying the first crisp promise of winter. The condo I had moved into downtown, a modest 2-bedroom on the 4th floor with a small balcony overlooking the river walk, was starting to feel like home. I had hung a few framed photos. Ruth and me on our wedding day, Angela at her nursing school graduation, Ellie and Mason grinning in matching Halloween costumes from 2 years ago. The walls were still mostly bare, but the emptiness no longer felt like absence. It felt like space for new things. That I kept the Saturday park visits with the kids. Every other weekend, rain or shine, we met at the same bench. Ellie brought drawings she'd made in school, stick figure families that sometimes included me, sometimes Christopher, always with big smiles. Mason brought rocks he'd found on the playground, presenting them like treasures. This one's for you, Grandpa. It's shiny. Angela came alone most times. Christopher joined only once more that summer, late August, for a brief 20-minute session at Dr. Nguyen's office. He sat quietly while the kids played with blocks, then spoke only when asked. I'm trying to be better, he said to me across the low table. For them. For Angela. For whatever chance there might be with you. I nodded. Keep trying. He left without asking for more. By September, Angela had settled into the smaller apartment on the east side of Aurora, closer to my condo, easier commute to the hospital. She worked full-time on the surgical floor now, plus occasional weekend shifts. Money was still tight, but she never asked for more help. The $3,000 I had given for moving costs was the last financial bridge I offered. She accepted it with quiet gratitude and never mentioned it again. The first real shift came in October. Ellie's 7th birthday fell on a Saturday. Angela texted 2 weeks ahead. Would you like to come? Just a small party at the apartment. Cake, balloons, the kids. No big thing. Christopher won't be there. He's spending the weekend with his parents. I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, I'll be there. What time? 2 p.m. She'll be so happy. I arrived with a wrapped gift, the dollhouse Ellie had wanted since spring, and a homemade carrot cake Ruth's recipe, the one Angela used to beg for every birthday. Angela opened the door in jeans and a soft sweater, hair loose, no makeup. She looked younger somehow, less weighed down. Dad, she said, voice catching. Thank you for coming. Ellie launched herself at me the second I stepped inside. "Grandpa, you brought the dollhouse." We spent the afternoon in the small living room, balloons taped to the walls, paper plates with pizza slices, Mason smearing frosting on his face. Angela lit 7 candles. We sang off-key. Ellie blew them out with a dramatic puff. Eyes squeezed shut for her wish. After the kids retreated to Ellie's room to play with the new dollhouse, Angela and I sat at the tiny kitchen table with coffee. "It's small," she said, looking around. "But it's ours. No arguments about TV volume. No one telling me how to organize the spice rack." I smiled faintly. "Sounds peaceful." "It is." She traced the rim of her mug. "Christopher sees the kids every other weekend. He's different now. Calmer. He asks about you sometimes. Not to come over, just to know you're okay." I nodded. "I'm okay," I said. She met my eyes. "Dad, I've been going to therapy alone too. Dr. Nguyen referred me to someone who specializes in adult children of single parents. We talk about guilt, about how I tried to replace Mom with Christopher's approval, how I made you the sacrifice to keep my marriage intact. I'm learning to stop doing that." I listened. "I don't expect you to forget what happened," she continued. "But I want you to know I'm not the same person who stood behind him that night. I won't be again." The words settled between us, honest, unadorned. "I believe you," I said finally. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath since 2025. "Does that mean maybe more than park visits? Maybe dinner sometimes? Here? Or at your place?" I thought about the condo, quiet, but no longer lonely. Thought about the grandkids running through it, leaving toys on the floor. Thought about Angela sitting at my small dining table. No tension, just family. "Let's start with dinner," I said. "Next Saturday. My place. You and the kids. Bring Christopher if he wants to come." One step. Her eyes filled. "He'll want to come." The first dinner was awkward at first, November 7th. I cooked pot roast, Ruth's recipe again, mashed potatoes, green beans. The condo smelled like childhood. Angela arrived at 6 p.m. with Ellie and Mason. Christopher followed 10 minutes later, carrying a bottle of sparkling cider and a small bouquet of grocery store flowers that he stood in the doorway, uncertain. "Mr. Okoye," he said. "Thank you for inviting me." I stepped aside. "Come in." We ate at the table I'd bought secondhand. 4 chairs, room for 5 if we squeezed. Conversation started slow. School, work, the upcoming holidays. Ellie filled the silences with stories about her teacher's pet hamster. Mason showed Christopher how to stack his mashed potatoes into a castle. After dinner, the kids played in the living room with toys I'd kept from the old house. The adults sat on the balcony, cold, but the view of the lit river walk made it bearable. Christopher spoke first. "I meant what I wrote in that letter," he said. "I'm still sorry. Every day." I looked out at the lights reflecting on the water. "I read it," I said. "More than once." Angela stayed quiet, letting us talk. "I don't know if we'll ever be close," Christopher continued. "But I want to be civil. Respectful. For the kids. For Angela. And because you deserve it." I turned to him. "Keep showing up," I said. "Keep working on yourself. That's all I ask." He nodded. "I will." We sat in silence after that. 3 people who had hurt each other, now sharing the same cold air, the same quiet view. Thanksgiving that year was at my condo. Small. Simple. Angela cooked the turkey, her first attempt since she was 20. Christopher brought sweet potato casserole. Ellie and Mason helped set the table, arguing over who got the wishbone. That we went around the table saying what we were thankful for. Ellie, Grandpa's hugs and Mommy's bedtime stories. Mason, trains and Grandpa's cookies. Angela, second chances. And my dad. Christopher, my family. And the man who taught me what real strength looks like. I went last. "I'm thankful for forgiveness," I said. "Even when it's hard. And for this table. All of us here." No one spoke for a moment. Then Ellie reached for my hand. "Love you, Grandpa. Love you more," I said. Christmas came next. We did 2 celebrations. One at Angela's apartment on the 24th with Christopher's side of the family invited. He asked. I said yes. And one at my condo on the 25th. Just us. The kids opened gifts under a small tree I'd decorated with the old ornaments from Elmwood Drive. Sophie's paper snowflake from years ago hung front and center. When Ellie unwrapped the dollhouse accessories I'd bought, she squealed and hugged me so hard I almost lost balance. Angela gave me a framed photo. Us 4, me, her, Ellie, Mason, from the park last month. Simple black frame. On the back she wrote, "Thank you for not giving up on us." Christopher gave me nothing physical, just a quiet handshake and the words, "Merry Christmas, ZAHA." I shook his hand. "Merry Christmas, Christopher." New Year's Eve we watched the ball drop on TV, my TV, volume at whatever level I chose. No one commented. Ellie and Mason fell asleep on the couch before midnight. Angela and Christopher sat on the floor with me, backs against the sofa, watching the fireworks on screen. At midnight we toasted with sparkling cider. "To new beginnings," Angela said. "To family," Christopher added. That I lifted my glass last. "To choosing grace," I said. We clinked. The year turned. 2027 brought routines that felt natural again. Saturday dinners at my condo. Sometimes Christopher came, sometimes not. When he did, conversation stayed light. Work updates, kid milestones, weekend plans. No deep apologies repeated. They weren't needed anymore. Angela and I started walking the river walk together once a week, just the two of us, while Christopher watched the kids. We talked about Ruth, about her childhood, about the mistakes we both made. She cried sometimes. I listened. One Sunday in March she asked, "Do you think we'll ever be what we were?" I thought about it. "No," I said. "We'll be something new, different, but maybe better, because we chose it this time." She nodded. "I like that." Ellie and Mason grew. They stayed over some weekends, bunk beds in the spare room, bedtime stories from Grandpa. They asked about the old house sometimes. I told them stories about Ruth, about when Mommy was little and loved Westerns too. In June 2027, on the 2-year anniversary of that Tuesday night, Angela brought a small gift to the park. A new remote control. Universal, programmable. Engraved on the back, "Your TV. Your rules. Love, Angela." I laughed. First real, deep laugh in a long time. "Thank you," I said. She smiled. I learned my lesson. Christopher arrived later that day, first time at the park with all of us. He sat on the bench while the kids played. Didn't try to control anything. Just watched. When it was time to go, he stood. "Thanks for letting me be here," he said. I nodded. "Keep coming." He did. Life settled into a new shape. Not the old one, but a good one. I still watched my Westerns. Volume moderate, lights low, recliner worn but comfortable. Sometimes Angela joined me. Sometimes the kids curled up beside me. Christopher never asked to change the channel, and when the credits rolled, when the theme music faded, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace, not perfect peace. Scars remained. Trust rebuilt slowly, but peace nonetheless. Redemption doesn't erase the past. It walks through it, hand in hand with forgiveness, and chooses to keep walking forward. Together. One Saturday, one dinner, one quiet apology at a time. And in the end, that was enough. More than enough. Word count for Act 5. Approximately 3,000. The resolution brings gentle, earned healing. Ongoing family dinners. Grandkids' joy. Christopher's consistent change. Angela's growth. ZAHA's quiet acceptance of a new normal. No forced happily ever after reunion. Instead, boundaries respected, love reshaped, and hope carried forward through presence and small acts of grace. The story closes with emotional resonance, echoing the original betrayal while affirming redemption through persistence and choice. If this ending wrapped things up in a way that felt real to you, comment below. What does a new normal look like after a family fracture in your own life? Big changes or small daily ones? I read every single comment. Your stories are what make sharing these journeys worthwhile. Thank you for following ZAHA's story from that dark Tuesday night to this hopeful horizon. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.